Grand rising, grand arrival, grand return, peace and blessings to the righteous and repentant alike. I'm Sophia of the AmaruKhan Band of Indians, and this video is going to bring some clarification and some clarity to the blessings of the 12 tribes. And so this video is called In the Beginning, the Blessings of the 12 Tribes. And so we have here the 12 tribes and the signs that they're associated with. But one thing I want to explain about this is that each brother is assigned to another brother. There's a saying in the Bible, and I'm just going to say a lot of there's a saying in the Bible because I didn't write all the scriptures down, that we are our brother's keeper. And so each brother was their brother's keeper. We just didn't interpret it like that. And what does that mean? It means that there's a new moon, and the brother to the new moon is the full moon. But it's not the full moon in the same sign, it's the full moon in the opposite sign. Because if you look at the actual astrology, when you have a Virgo new moon, you have a Pisces full moon. Then you have a Libra new moon. Then you have a opposite Aries full moon. That's what it means to be the brother's keeper. So this is my second time recording this video, so of course it's not going to be as good as the first time, but it is going to be more concise. There's a story in the Bible related to how the brother's keeper new moon or dark moon full moon story is supposed to go. And it's the story of Cain and Abel. Because if you remember, I've discussed this several times. Cain wanted to marry his own twin. This would be like there being an Aries new moon followed by an Aries full moon. And Adam wanted Cain to marry Abel's twin. Cain and Abel were both twins. So Cain, as an Aries, would be paired up with what we have here, Libra, right? And Abel as Levi would be paired up with Judah, i.e. Scorpio. So they would be their brother's keeper. They would maintain the property of their brother. So the new moon to the full moon. So, and that's how the cycle works. It's also how time is kept. Time is kept or monitored from new moon to full moon. From new moon to full moon in a 6 month, 5.5 month usually cycle. So for every new moon, there's a full moon coming in that cycle. Now we have had unusual things happen even this year, because this year we had 2 Capricorn full moons. Well, and we also had 2 Capricorn new moons. Well, next year we have 2 Virgo full moons. Unusual. One at 0 degrees and one at 29 degrees. Very, very unusual. So, that's just kind of like a way that this plays out. So I only say that because I want people to understand that when I say the dark sun, I'm talking about a new or a dark moon. When I say the light sun, I'm talking about a full moon. Now, what's the difference between a new moon and a full moon? If you watch my videos, you'll know. New moons are, the sky is dark. The moon is darkened, and so it's a receiving moon. With new moons, you don't write, burn, release, you post whatever it is you want. Full moons are about removing any blockages. So full moons literally related to exposure. So you do write, burn, or releases with full moons. Now I have 2 articles here that's going to talk about the 12 tribes, but I just wanted to get this part down before we go into that. So real quick, we're going to go through this list, and then we're going to read the articles, and then I'm going to wrap this video up. It was an hour and a half, actually, but I put like 5 videos together, so now I'm separating the information out to make it a little clearer. So Reuben is related to Aries, and he's the first. And the fruit that he is charity. Now, another thing about my list here is that it doesn't match anyone else's list. No one else has ever put it together like this. This is the proper way to do it. I don't know what everyone else is doing. I don't have time to sit and wonder either. I just feel like people are deliberately gaslighting me and my information. And so instead of me worrying about what other people are going to do, I know they're going to take this information and try to figure it out themselves and work it out themselves. And it doesn't matter. I don't care. Okay? That's just to be clear. And so the light sun that's paired with Reuben is Simeon, which is Libra, and the path is aggressor, and the fruit is joy. Levi is related to Taurus, and the path is cleric, and the fruit is peace. Judah is related to Scorpio, and that's the light sun, and the path is leader, and the fruit is patience. Dan is related to Gemini, and the path is judge, and the fruit is kindness. Oh, y'all didn't know there was 12 fruits of the Spirit in the Latin Vulgate written by St. Jerome. That's where we got all these. Naphtali is Sagittarius, and he's a free spirit. The path is free spirit, and the fruit is goodness. Gad is related to Cancer, and he is the path of the warrior, and that's longanimity, which is like long suffering. Asher is related to Capricorn, and the path for that is prosperous, and the fruit for that is mildness. Issachar is related to Leo, and the path is scholar, and the fruit is faith. Zebulon is related to Aquarius, and the path is entrepreneur, and the fruit is modesty. Joseph is related to Virgo, the path is the sufferer, and the fruit is continence. Now, an interesting thing about Joseph is that, or Virgo in general, is that when we're getting ready to enter Virgo South Node, Pisces North Node. And whenever we're in that configuration, which means the eclipses are going to be on that axis, there's always 2 more Virgo eclipses than there are Pisces eclipses. And that is because Virgo, Joseph, is his blessing, he has equal blessing with his 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. Ephraim being the younger but the greater, and Manasseh being the older but the lesser. So, and we'll talk about their past too. The light sun, the last one is Benjamin, and he's related to Pisces, and the path is consumer, and the fruit is chastity. So before we get started, let's go ahead and read the scripture. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. I did read the scripture. It's Genesis, It's Genesis 49, I do believe. Yes, it's Genesis 49. And so this will make sense. We're going to do these one by one. We'll go here. We'll talk about the path and also the fruit. We'll do them all together. So Reuben, this is Genesis 49. I'm reading from the New King James Version. We're just going to start with 1. And Jacob called his sons and said, "Gather together, that I may tell you what shall befall you in the last days. Gather together and hear, you sons of Jacob, and listen to Israel your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity and the excellency of power. Unstable as water, you shall not excel, because you went up to your father's bed, then you defiled it. He went up to my couch." So, Reuben is related to Aries. And if you know Aries, Aries are very angry, impulsive. People with first house placements are very impulsive. But the fruit is charity. So, let's talk about, where is that at? hopefully I still have it open because here we go. All right. What? Why? I don't understand why all these tabs are open. It's making me crazy. All right, so let's look at the Chabad. Okay, with the first 12 tribes and 12 paths. Okay. We're not going to read all of that. All right. So here it says Reuben, the firstborn of Bishur, represents the powerful energy of everything that comes first. The first fruit, the first moments of the day, the beginning of every creation, has enormous amounts of energy. Unstable like water, this power can go either way. If harnessed properly, Bishur, Reuben's energy can change worlds. If abused, it can destroy. Like water, it can be the source of life, but if left unchanneled, it erodes its environment and can flood its surroundings. So it's a very unstable energy. So the fruit of the spirit that's associated with that is charity or love, which is the greatest, right? It's the first. Charity encompasses our love for God and our neighbors. This kind of love is not simply a passing feeling or infatuation. It is an unconditional love that expects nothing in return. It puts the needs of others before our own and manifests in concrete actions towards God and other people. Okay? So that's what the energy of Aries. All right? So let's look at the next one, which is Simeon. Starting in verse 5 in Genesis 49. Simeon, well, actually, it's going to be Simeon and Levi together. Simeon and Levi are brothers. Instruments of cruelty are in their dwelling place. Let not my soul enter their council. Let not my honor be united to their assembly. For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they hamstrung an ox. Cursed be their anger, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. All right, so let's take a look back at our other chart real quick. All right, so as you can see, Simeon is related to Libra, and Levi is related to Taurus. Both of these entities are ruled by Venus. And Venus in Libra, I think I have it. Hold on. Venus in Libra is the ruler of outside, and Venus in Taurus is the ruler of home. So Simeon is Simeon in Libra with Libra is the aggressor on the outside, and Levi in Taurus is the aggressor or the leader in the home. Okay, so now let's go back and look at what the Chabad people have to say. So Simeon is aggressive, Govera, the antithesis of Reuben's chesed or water. Antithesis means opposite. So Simeon is the brother's keeper of Reuben. Okay, the fierce anger and cruel wrath that can result from unbridled Govera must be a limit, or actually what they mean, energy. Okay, must be eliminated lest it turns into weapons of violence that consume the person and all those he comes into contact with. All right. So what does Reuben's energy have to do? They have to have joy. We all want to be happy, but the happiness found in the earthly things is fleeting. The joy that is a part of the 12 fruits is not an emotional state. Rather, it is a lasting kind of happiness that can only be realized when we put God at the center of our lives and if we believe that we will live our eternal life with Him. So that's what when they say joy, is the joy that you are going to basically live your life forever with the Creator. And a lot of people, they don't have that kind of joy anyway. All right, so let's look at, Judah has the longest part, but let's look at Levi right now. Levi is the tribe chosen to serve in the temple because it's the home, okay? Levi is related to Taurus, which is related to the home, the leader of the home. So literally, Levi is a leader of the home church, the home temple. Okay, literally, it's literal. Okay, all right. Levi also means attached or joined. Levi is the personality of dedicating your life to serving a higher calling, of freeing yourself from your bounds to material survival and attaching yourself to divine service. Okay. So the fruit associated with that is peace. You want to have a peaceful home. Peace is tranquility that can be experienced when we put our complete trust in God. When we rely on God, we believe that He will provide our needs, and this relieves us from any anxious thoughts about the future. So you want to be if you want to, if you're a Taurus and you have a problem with this, you can meditate on this and help bring this kind of peace into your home. Okay. So let's look at Judah. Judah is related to Scorpio, and Scorpio is the leader, and the fruit is patience. So let's look at Genesis 49:9. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He bows down, he lies down as a lion. And as a lion, who shall rouse him? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh comes. And to him shall be the obedience of the people, binding his donkey to the vine, and his donkey's colt to the choice vine. He washes garments in wine, and his clothes in the blood of grapes. His eyes are darker than wine, and his teeth whiter than milk. So, let's read what that says. Oh no. All right. So Judah means acknowledgement, right? So Judah's name also includes the 4 letters of the divine name Haviah. Judah is the leader. His descendants would be the kings of Israel, beginning with King David and concluding with the Mashiach, talking about Jesus. Judah is the path of selflessness, Bittul, the most vital ingredient of true leadership. So people, well, anyway, we're not going to go into that. Let's look at the fruit associated with that, which is patience. If you're going to be a true leader, you have to have patience. Patience allows us to have compassion over people in spite of their flaws and weaknesses. This fruit comes from an understanding of our own imperfect state and how God has given us His unconditional love and mercy, so we should do the same for others, okay? Now remember, you have all of these in your chart. It's just some of them have planets, some of them don't. That will be breaking down in a separate video, okay? The next placement is Dan. Dan is related to Gemini, and the path is the judge, and the fruit is kindness. So Dan, that's Zebulon. Okay, Dan. Verse 16. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, a viper by the path, that bites the horse's heels, so that its rider shall fall backwards. I have waited for your salvation, O Lord. Yikes. So, that's what they're going to cry out. I have waited for your salvation, but instead, Dan got to us and judged us. So, Dan is the path of law and order. Objective justice is at the heart of any civilization. Basically, nobody can survive without justice. If there's no justice, no group can survive. This is why you see American falling apart, because there is no justice. All right, so that fruit for Dan is kindness. Kindness or benignity is more than being kind to others. It is having a heart that is willing to do acts of compassion and give to others above and beyond what we owe to them. So to be a good judge, that's what Dan is supposed to do. All right, so the next one is Naphtali. That's a card. All right, Naphtali is Genesis 49, verse 21. Naphtali is a deer let loose. He uses beautiful words. So Naphtali is related to Sagittarius. The path is free spirit, and the fruit is goodness. So if you know, well, the Sagittarius, I know they are good people, free spirited people, and they like to party. A deer let loose, someone who likes to party. Okay. Naphtali is the free spirit personality, like a deer running free. Breaking out of the status quo, independence is a necessary component of growth. Yet, this free spiritedness must also take care to deliver words of beauty. So, meaning, be free spirited, but don't hurt people in the path. And just to back that up, the fruit of the Spirit for this is goodness. Being good involves constant renouncing of evil in our day-to-day actions. When we are good, we are constantly seeking the path of righteousness, and we strive to do God's will, even at the expense of earthly success. So, and because Sagittarius is related to Jupiter, that is even more important. Because Jupiter can expand, especially money. People who have Sagittarius placements have to remember to give back, which is why we had Operation Holly Jolly in Sagittarius season, which is why Christmas is basically in Sagittarius season. The holidays are all in Sagittarius season because you have to be careful to give back and to do good. So they created a whole season to make sure you tap into the energy, and yet you guys hate holidays. All right, so the next one is Gad. Gad is related to Cancer, and the path is warrior, and the fruit is longanimity. So Gad is Genesis 49, verse 19. Gad, a troop shall tramp upon him, but he shall triumph at last. Meaning he who laughs last. Wait a minute. He who laughs last. I don't know, laughs last. That's what, that's all I can think of. He who laughs last something. Y'all know it. All right, so let's look at Gad here. Gad is the warrior archetype. Expanding on the justice of Dan. That's right. Gad is ready to fight for his beliefs. The warrior is necessary to both defend our cherished values and protect our freedoms. So let's read the fruit of the Spirit for that. This would be longanimity. Longanimity is being patient, even when being provoked. While patience involves tolerance, longanimity means enduring quietly and remaining steadfast in the midst of attacks of others. The world will certainly become a much more peaceful and happier place if we all worked on becoming more Christ-like every day. Oh, that was a sweet. Okay, so this would be the mother energy, right? A mother who's supposed to be like this. All mothers are not, but this would be a warrior mother, okay? The next one is Asher. Asher is related to Capricorn. The path is prosperous and the fruit is mildness. So Asher, ooh. Oh, here we go. Genesis 49, verse 20. Bread from Asher shall be rich, and he shall yield royal dainties. All right, so let's read the Shabbat. All right, Asher is both prosperity and pleasure. Asher is a dimension of blessings beyond the norm, to be given more than what is necessary for survival. Asher is the personality of not just getting what you need, but also enjoying it. And so because Capricorn, which is related to Asher, is the 2, 3, and 4 of Pentacles, the Queen of Pentacles, and also the Tower, the Empress, and the Star. Again, royalty, honors, money, fame, wealth, power. And it's also related to Saturn. It's the first incarnation of Saturn. And what does Saturn do? Saturn is discipline and structure. So none of these things can happen. You cannot become a celebrity without the discipline and structure to support it. In case people are interested in that. All right, so the fruit of the spirit of signs of Capricorn is mildness. None of those things sound mild. 2, 3, and 4 Pentacles, Queen of Pentacles, Empress, Tower, Star, none of that is mild. So the thing that you have to master, the transmutation of that energy, is going to be mildness. To be mild in behavior means having a heart of forgiveness and grace. It means not being easily provoked and choosing a response of meekness and peace rather than one that leads to revenge. So I have two Capricorn children, and they have not mastered this. This is a huge problem for them. They need more mild behavior, and reinforcing mild behavior in a 2-year-old, in a 8-year-old is extremely difficult. But I understand now this is what they have to conquer and lucky for them, they have a great example in their older sister, because I am not mild at all. So they have a great example of mildness in their older sister. So that should help with their behavior. You would think. One would hope. I would hope, as the mother who has to deal with this. All right. So the next one is Issachar. That's the one that's back up here. Issachar is related to Leo, and that's the scholar, and the fruit is faith. So we're going to look at Genesis 49 and 14. Issachar is a strong donkey, lying down between two burdens. He saw that rest was good, and that the land was pleasant, and he bowed his shoulder to bear a burden, and became a band of slaves. So Leo is interesting that they talk about, he's a strong donkey that lied down between two burdens, and he got weak, and they basically, that's how he ended up enslaved, because he got weak instead of, maintaining his strength. So that's why faith is the fruit of the spirit for Issachar. Okay. So Issachar is a scholar. Scholarship provides wisdom, clarity, and direction. It is the foundation of any system. Issachar is the dedication to immerse in study and education. Okay. The fruit is faith. Faith is at the core of our Christianity. To have faith means living according to the will of God and believing that He is the master of our life. So in this story, it says what? Issachar, he saw that rest was good and the land was pleasant, and he bowed down to the idols and he became a slave. So he did not have faith. This is, precise. Again, none of this stuff is not guessing. All of this stuff is precise. Believe it or not. It is indeed precise. Okay, the next one is Zebulon, and Zebulon is related to Aquarius. The path is entrepreneur, and the fruit is modesty. So Zebulon. Hold on. Here we go. Genesis 49, verse 13. Zebulon shall dwell by the haven of the sea. He shall become a haven for ships, and his border shall adjoin Sidon. All right, because what is Aquarius? The water bearer. The water bearer. Okay, Zebulon is the merchant or the business person. I said entrepreneur. His role is to enter the marketplace and redeem the divine sparks within the material world. The secret treasure hidden in the sand. Zebulon complements Issachar, and they forge a partnership. Zebulon supports the scholar. He funds houses of scholarship, which earns him a right to partake in the reward of Issachar's studies. So it even says here again, they are partners. And Issachar is Leo. Leo is related to, Leo is the dark sun, the one who has to go inside. Zebulon is the one that goes outside. And that's really what this means. The darkness is that you have to go inside, and the light is that you have to go outside. And so you can look at the light sun list and see these are all things that have to be done outside. Charity begins at home. Peace is on the inside. Kindness begins with yourself. Long suffering, longanimity is also an inside thing. Faith is inside. Aggressor, that's outside. Leader, that's outside. Free spirit, that's outside. Prosperous, that's outside. Entrepreneur, that's outside. All those things are outside. And so you can look at what you have in these signs and see what kind of person, even if you just know your sun sign. Well, if your sun is in, Taurus, then 9 times out of 10, you have to go inside to work on yourself. You can't, doing the stuff on the outside is not going to do anything for you. But if you are Capricorn, it's going to be, you're always going to be related to other people. It's going to be on the outside. And that's, just one way of using this chart. All right, so almost at the end, we have Joseph, which is related to Virgo, and the path is sufferer or suffering, and the fruit is continent. So let's read about Joseph. He is the longest part. All right, Genesis 49, verse 22. Joseph is a fruitful bough by a well. His branches run over the wall. The archers have bitterly grieved him, shot at him, and hated him. But his bow remained in strength, and the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty God of Jacob. For there is the shepherd, the stone of Israel, by the God of your father who will help you, and by the Almighty who will bless you with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that lies beneath, blessings of the beast and of the womb. The blessings of your father have excelled the blessings of my ancestors. Up to the utmost bound of the everlasting hills, they shall be on the head of Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him who was separate from his brothers. All right, so remember, Virgo is related to, at this time, yesterday, actually, September the 8th, that's the birthday of the Theotokos. Jesus' birthday could have been in this period, very close. They say that it was the 23rd, but the 23rd is right on the edge. We would have to know an exact birth time in order to know whether he was a Virgo or a Libra. So he's really right on the cusp of Virgo and Libra. And so that's the kind of energy that we have with Virgo. It's going to be the blessings of heaven, the blessings that lie beneath, the blessings of the womb, the blessings of everything come through Virgo. So let's see what the Shabbat has to say. All right. Joseph is the element of suffering in life. Joseph, yet he not only survives, he thrives. He achieves greatness through his challenges. He overcomes all adversaries and becomes a great leader, saving his entire generation. Despite his corrupt environment, he maintains his spiritual integrity. The powerful light that emerges from darkness in Joseph divides in 2 dimensions. His 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. We're going to talk about them in a minute. They're in a different scripture. Did I forget to... Okay, so modesty, that had to deal with the last one, which I believe was Zebulon. Being modest means being humble, is believing that any of our successes, blessings, and talents and gifts are from God. It also means being content with that which we have and not harbor any selfish ambition. So again, if you're, I think it was Capricorn or, oh Lord, I can't remember. No, Aquarius, right? If you're an entrepreneur and you make all this money on the outside, right, then it might be a little bit more difficult for you to give the glory on the inside. And so that's what that's related to. Okay, continence. That's what is related to Virgo, to Joseph. And continence means having temperance and self-control. It does not mean denying ourselves from what we need or want. It is the ability to exercise moderation in everything that we do. So again, it's the path of suffering, but knowing that you don't have to suffer. Suffering is not required. Joseph did not have to go through what he went through to get the blessing. It was not required. It's what happened, but that doesn't mean that it's required. So that's another way of a way that we have to really learn, okay? Because it's not obvious. All right, so the last brother we have here is Benjamin. Benjamin is related to Pisces, and that's the path of the consumer, and the fruit is chastening. So Benjamin, this is Genesis 49, verse 27. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil. So that talks about somebody who is a ravenous consumer, right? They're a high level consumer. That's Pisces. Let's read here. Benjamin is hungry for the divine sparks of existence. So like a ravenous wolf, Benjamin recognizes that his mission is to passionately seek out the divine energy embedded in matter, devour it, consume it, and elevate it. And the fruit associated with that is chastity. Chastity means giving ourselves to Christ completely, whether as a priest, religious, or layman. All vocations are called to have chaste in their way of living. Chastity also means indulging in our physical desires within the right context, such as being sexually pure before marriage and by remaining faithful to one spouse. Could just also mean by telling the truth. Pisces are notorious for being excellent liars, okay? No shade at all, but it's a Pisces trait. They can tell you a story and it will be not true at all. And you will never know that it was not true. So they have to be, they have to work really hard at being chaste, okay? So let's talk for a minute about Manasseh and Ephraim, but let me go back there. That's the best place to do it. Manasseh and Ephraim, okay? So that is in 48. Oh, goodness. This is okay. We're going to read all of 48. It's a long chapter, but it's the only way to describe how this actually works. All right. Genesis 48, verse 1. Now it came to pass after these things that Joseph was told, indeed, your father is sick. And he took with him his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And Jacob was told, look, your son Joseph is coming to you. And Israel strengthened himself and sat up on the bed. Then Jacob said to Joseph, God Almighty appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan and blessed me, and said to me, behold, I will make you fruitful and multiply you, and I will make of you a multitude of people, and give this land to your descendants after you as an everlasting possession. And now your two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, who were born to you in the land of Egypt before I came to you in Egypt, are mine. As Reuben and Simeon, they shall be mine. Pause. That just means they're getting an equal blessing. That's why this is important. Verse 6. Your offspring whom you begat after them shall be yours. They will be called by the name of their brothers in their inheritance. But as for me, when I came from Padan, Rachel died beside me in the land of Canaan on the way, when there was but a little distance to go to Ephrath. And I buried her there on the way to Ephrath, that is, Bethlehem. So he was headed towards Bethlehem. Of course, Jesus comes from Bethlehem. Then Israel saw Joseph's two sons and said, who are these? And Joseph said to his father, they are my sons, whom God has given me in this place. And he said, please bring them to me, and I will bless them. Now the eyes of Israel were dim with age, so that he could not see. Then Joseph brought them near him, and he kissed them and embraced them. And Israel said to Joseph, I had not thought to see your face, but in fact God has shown me your offspring. So Joseph brought them from beside his knees, and he bowed down with his face to the earth. And Joseph took them both, Ephraim with his right hand towards Israel's left hand, and Manasseh with his left hand towards Israel's right hand, and brought them near him. Then Israel stretched out his right hand and laid it on Ephraim's head, who was the younger, and his left hand on Manasseh's head, guiding his hands knowingly. For Manasseh was the firstborn. And he blessed Joseph and said, God, before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who has fed me all my life long to this day, the angel who has redeemed me from all evil, bless the lads, let my name be upon them, and the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. Now when Joseph saw that his father had laid his right hand on the head of Ephraim, it displeased him. So he took hold of his father's hand to remove it from Ephraim's head and to Manasseh's head, because Ephraim was the younger and Manasseh was the older. And Joseph said to his father, not so, my father, for this one is the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head. But the father refused and said, I know, my son, I know. He also shall become a people, and he also shall be great. But truly his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his descendants shall become a multitude of nations. So He blessed them that day by saying, by you, Israel will bless, saying, may God make you as Ephraim and as Manasseh. And thus he set Ephraim before Manasseh. Then Israel said to Joseph, behold, I am dying, but God will be with you and bring you back to the land of your fathers. Moreover, I have given you one portion above your brothers, which I took from the hand of the Amorite with my sword and my bow. So he's literally talking about what he literally took, and he's getting Joseph got a double portion, right? Triple portion, really. But all right, so Manasseh here represents the ability not to succumb to the powers of Egypt, the constraints that want to make you forget your spiritual roots, to remain connected regardless of the challenges. Ephraim takes it further. It is not enough just to survive in an alien environment, but to thrive, to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. Ephraim is the power to transform the difficulties into divine power. So that's why Ephraim is the greater than Manasseh. Ephraim is transformation. Manasseh is just, the changes are made, but they're not transforming. Now, this is how the greater portion plays out, because the land that we have been given, the blessing of the 12 tribes, is the zodiac. That is the spiritual land we have been given, that we have access to. Manasseh and Ephraim got a greater portion. Now let me explain this a little bit. This is totally new information. All right. Manasseh is related to Uranus. That's the lesser. That's the backhand of the wheel. Here on, you can see on the page. And Ephraim was given Pluto, which is the front of the wheel. Now, at this time, they didn't know about these planets. Allegedly, they didn't know about these planets. But this is how it plays out. Why? Pluto is transformation, but Pluto is transformation that you can make yourself. That you can lead the way. You can make it happen. Uranus is transformation that you don't have control over. In one of my other videos, I described the planets like this. Oh, I didn't even talk about Pluto's not on there. Is it? I don't think so. Hold on, y'all. Did I make this list and not put Pluto on there? Oh, Pluto's not on here. It wasn't time. All right, so y'all are going to get a lesson. This is fantastic. Pluto was not on there. Somehow mysteriously forgot that. So here's what Pluto is, and this is what Ephraim. This is the blessing or the path of Ephraim. Okay. All right. So Pluto is actually, it's a word called dicastery, but it basically translates to the judge. And this is a really, really interesting word, because a dicastery, when I was looking up the different jobs basically of the planets, I was really thinking about what Pluto does, right? Pluto is basically like sort of like the timekeeper, but really the one who judges if the time has been fulfilled. Meaning, if you're trying to do a transformation, Pluto is the one who decides if you have done all the work necessary to fulfill the time. Whereas Manasseh or Uranus is, I call it the astrologer. Astrologer is a good word. I also call it a high priestess, but let's in this case, let's call him the astrologer. So while Pluto is the one who judges the time, Manasseh is the one who tracks the time, who looks in the stars and sees, okay, this change has to be made right now. This is the time for it, and gets it done. right in front of you, you have the zodiac wheel. I was going to do this in a separate video, but I guess not. One of the most important things to understand about the way I interpret the wheel, and thus the way I do our old wives' tales, right, is that we are now looking at the wheel in a clockwise format. Whereas before, the wheel was always discussed in a counterclockwise format. So in the first section, you have the first, second, and third house, which is Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. And this quarter of the chart is ruled by Saturn, the beginning, okay? Houses 4, 5, and 6, which is Cancer, Leo, and Virgo, is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is cups. Saturn is wands. Jupiter is cups. Now, this triad here, Saturn, Jupiter, and Neptune, which is the whole top half of the chart, is related to things that are on the outside of you. Just like we were talking about the light suns and the dark suns. These are all the light suns, basically, on the top half of the chart. These are also the planets, Saturn, Jupiter, and Neptune, that are further from the sun. They're not as close to the sun as Venus, Mars, and Mercury, okay? Pluto and Uranus are both way out, okay? But we're not talking about that yet. All right, so the next three houses, 7, 8, and 9, which is Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius, are all ruled by Mars energy. Also, I have no, that's not right. They're all ruled by Mars energy, right? Okay. Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces are ruled by Venus energy. And the thing that rules the bottom half of the chart, the inside part of the chart, is Mercury. Why? Because these are the things that are closest to the sun. Saturn, Jupiter, and Neptune are far away from the sun. These are all hypotheticals out there somewhere, right? Wands are correction. Cups are anything. Mars is swords. Venus is pentacles. These are things that are close to you. If you have a sword, you keep it close. If you have money, you keep it close. You don't just let your money flail all about. So this whole bottom half of the chart, like I said, is ruled by Mercury. Now, there's also a front half of the chart and a back half of the chart. The front half of the chart, which is houses 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, and 3, is ruled by Pluto or Ephraim, which is transformation or the dicastery. This is judging whether you have reached the fullness of time. That is the front half of the chart, judging whether you have reached the fullness of time. The back half of the chart, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, is ruled by Uranus. Uranus is the time has come, the change has to be made. Pluto, you're in charge of the change. Uranus, you're not in charge of the change. Now, the thing I have been not purposely leaving out, but going over, is that Pluto rules one planet in the chart, and that planet is Scorpio. So, in Scorpio, Pluto is a layman. We used that word previously, but let me describe what a layman is. A layman is a person who can take complicated information and simplify it down so that the masses can accept it. Now, you'd be probably shocked to know that I have a lot of placements in Scorpio. So breaking this stuff down into easy to understand things is something that I am good at. In general. So, and I have most of my planets in this front half, the Pluto half of the chart. And Pluto is my first planet in my first house, which is Scorpio. So this is like, I am taking complicated information, breaking it down to simpler information, and presenting it is something that I am, like I said, uniquely qualified to do. But based on what your placements are, you can also use this 12 tribes description to figure out what things that you're specifically good at. It's not just for me. So this is another chart that I made. These will be available over on the Patreon if you're interested in getting these as handouts that you can print out. I'll probably also be selling these as printouts. But I just wanted to point out again, I calculate the chart clockwise. Everyone else calculates it counterclockwise. I do believe I found a way to provide counterclockwise place charts so you can see the difference. I'm still working on that though, but I think I have found a way to do that. So again, instead of usually on astrology charts, house 12 is house 1. I wonder if I can have one I can open up real quick. Let's see. Okay, here's transits. All right, here's a good one. This is for today. As you can see, house 1 is going counterclockwise. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it's counterclockwise, right? On my chart here, it's clockwise. We have moved away from the counterclockwise timeline to the clockwise timeline. I've said it a lot of times, but I never really explained it. And that's because I believe it has to deal with this whole 12 tribes issue. Because if we are working with, because we all have the 12 tribes in our chart. Some people have more of the 12 tribes than others, different brothers more so than others, but we all have these 12 placements in our chart. Just some people don't have planets in those placements and some people do. But remember, the power isn't in that planet, it's in a transmutation. So even if you don't have, houses, planets in those houses, the transmuted energy comes through that house. Which is what I'm talking about when I do my daily transmutation report. I look at if the energy is, 18 of Gemini, the transmutation of that is 18 of Sagittarius. And it's the house that Sagittarius is in your chart. So it's channeling or calling in the energy from the brother, from the Gemini brother. Let's go back. Who's the Gemini brother? Dan, calling in Naphtali to provide the support so that you can transmute the energy into something positive. That's basically like a short version of how the transmutation charts and the transmutation report is it comes together, how it's used. And so I have one more chart, which is this one. These are the new rulers, and it's a little bit important, like I mentioned, because Pluto, Mars, in the old chart, Mars rules Aries and Scorpio, but in the new chart, Pluto rules Scorpio. Uranus rules Aquarius, and Neptune rules Pisces. Now, I've heard astrologers describe it like this: because Pluto, Neptune, and Pisces move so slow, like you don't get to live through like a whole cycle of their transit. I do believe Pluto, we know, is 250. Neptune, I think, is 160 years, and Uranus is like 100 and some years. These are all very long transits, so you don't really get a Pluto return. You're not going to get a Neptune return. You're not going to get a Uranus return. Like, that's not going to happen. You get a Saturn return, and even that's rough. So this is why we use the old rulers to calculate a lot of stuff, because these are planets that move fast. And again, if you look at this chart, Pluto and Uranus and Neptune, those are all far away from the sun. Even in the placement, if Mercury, like on this chart, is the closest to the sun, Venus, Mars is close, Saturn, they're all within the wheel. Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, they're outside the wheel. They're I don't know exactly who Neptune and Mercury are yet. Like as far as the quote unquote tribes are concerned, or any other entities are concerned, but I'm sure we'll get the information soon. I also wanted to mention that the North Node is the one with the things pointing down, is ruled by Uranus and Mars. Well, actually, it's ruled by Mars. It's in the Mars slice because the North Node is about, where you're trying to go, making new changes, stuff like that. And the South Node is ruled by Saturn because the South Node is related to nostalgia. The North Node is related to opportunity, and what do I have written here? Optimism. North Node is related to optimism. South Node is related to nostalgia. So Saturn is the nostalgic. And if you notice, if you have placements in houses 1, 2, and 3, the way that I have it set here, which is Aries, Taurus, and Gemini, your first, second, and third house, then you'll probably notice that you're probably pretty nostalgic about things. You want things to be the way that they were. And if you have your North Node, wherever your North Node is what you're nostalgic about, like the good old days. Your North Node is where you're optimistic about. I'm optimistic about this. I'm optimistic about that. So that's or what you should be optimistic about, right? So this is probably still just as long as the original video, but it's organized a lot better. So we will be having more videos related to this. Again, a lot of this content is going to be like, I'll put it here, but then I'm gonna chuck it over to Patreon because again, there's a group who shall not be named that we're not gonna give them any free information on how to continue to manipulate people. So we pretty much have to put it in a box just to make sure that they don't do what they've been doing. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable what this group has been doing. And so we're going to give them enough information to, hopefully make the changes that they need to make for themselves so that they become better people, because that's ultimately what we would like to see. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. Again, if you're interested in these slides, they'll be over on the Patreon sometime today. We have a new lesson that'll be going out by the end of the week, by the 15th. That's when the lessons are going to go out. And I'm really looking forward to working on, this stuff with more people. So, shalom, everyone. Peace and blessings. And we'll see you in the next video.